Hey, you were so like professional right now. My name is Patricia.
Well, I have
because we've never spoken to him
I've never
before.
met the man. He seems very nice.
Yeah. Well, let's get him on.
I was going to say, he can hear us, right?
Oh, he can?
Well,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I said, okay, Mike, you better say the nicest thing possible. I'll tell you what, I got all dressed up for you just in case.
Oh, how
radio.
nice. He's
You
like-
mean you're not wearing
so
your
he's
yoga
wearing,
pants?
He's wearing pants. Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
no, just up to from my waist up, I got my nice shirt and tie.
There you go.
Just like in the Zoom meetings
Sure.
that I watch him all the time on, because I know he's got boxer shorts
That's
on
right.
underneath. I know he does, because that's what I would do.
And his chunkless.
No, of course, without chanclas, you're not Hispanic. So
That's right.
Yeah.
I put them on to make me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And he's got the real cool ones, the ones that look like conchas.
Yeah.
He's got those. I love those. I ordered some myself.
Got interviewed by a young lady, and she didn't realize she was wearing really short shorts.
Uh-oh.
And she doesn't realize that I could see below the waist, and I'm going, oh my goodness, this is going to be a long interview.
It was hard to concentrate, wasn't it?
No.
No.
I kept looking up, at the eyes.
Oh, good. So she didn't have to stop you and say, I'm up here. Okay. All right. Well, I want you to know that I'm wearing pants, and you don't have to worry about
Okay, well, thank you.
seeing
Thank
something you
Mike.
shouldn't be seeing.
That's right. And I wouldn't wear shorts. You couldn't pay me enough to wear shorts.
Hey, are we already in the air so I can...
Yes,
hold
yes,
back,
we're
or-
totally on the air.
it's too late now.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, we cannot be El Pasoans if I don't ask you where you went to high school, Mike, and where did you go to high school, Patricia?
Okay, I went to Burgess.
Born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley, so I didn't go to high school here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say Burgess. That's where Jacob Cintron, our CEO from UMC, I believe Veronica Escobar, Congresswoman Escobar, I think
Right.
she went to Burgess as well. We're a little bit more famous at Jefferson, so we have the Night Stalker. So,
Yes.
so we were just a little tad more famous, infamous maybe.
That's right. Yeah, that's the Jeff
You're like,
claim to
you're
fame.
like, look, I don't want to be all, I'm bigger and better than you are,
Yeah,
but
but we had the Night Stalker, and he could take any one of you all.
that's right.
Well, I was in a meeting with Austin High School, and they bragged about everybody from Sandra O'Connor's to everybody, and I was groping a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Well,
Well,
we have some great, outstanding exes from Jefferson as well.
Well, Burgess also has Danny Olivas, astronaut.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
That's right, yes.
Well, last year, Jefferson had this great person, County Judge Ricardo Samaniego. I don't know if you know him. But
I heard something about him. I heard that he and some guy named D were on the outs.
Oh,
see, I'm learning something. It was a big benchmark of mine to be on sort of a talk show, especially with Mike and Tricia. So this is exciting for me, and it's also an opportunity to reach a different. I'm having a difficult time reaching. Talking about why the stay-at-home order. What is it why does it make sense? The seriousness of it, and so we reach a lot of different audiences. But I never thought the radio has a different audience. People are they could be working, driving, and so this is a really great opportunity for me to express, what are some of the reasons behind stay-at-home order, because I've got people that think it's the best thing that we could ever do, and then I've got individuals that think it's not the best thing.
right.
Yeah. One of them holds the title of mayor of El Paso.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you knew that my order supersedes his. Just to clarify.
I heard about that.
I have a bigger order than he does.
Yeah.
Just clarify things right off the start.
I heard about that, but I guess he begs to differ. What's going on between you two, man? I thought you guys were pretty tight and all.
No, we are. We work really close and did a lot of different things, but there's a point where, he has to approach things the way he'd like to approach it, and I'd like, I need to approach it from my perspective. And when that happens, I think it's better. And I said, what? Maybe you're more successful. You can pick up the phone and call the governor. I have to call the governor's secretary to call the governor's, gardener, so I can talk to the
Yeah, I read about that.
So why don't you, you take that in around, and do that, and then I'll do what I need to do. And I knew the order would be a little, that was different from what he might want. And so, we're still friends, and, he's got to approach it from what he thinks is best. I oversee the county hospital, so I have a lot more intensity with funeral homes and the morgues, and, and so when you start sensing, and we're going to have a total of 10 mobile mortuaries that are going to be, we already have 4, 2 coming to the hospitals and 4 coming to the funeral homes, and you've got, almost 300 souls that are being investigated to see whether it's COVID-related or different. And when you start sensing that, oh my goodness, that feeling of, what are we going to do? And I tell a lot of people that everybody looks at the numbers and probably the numbers from the day before, but as a local leader, we see the trajectory, like where is this going to end and how bad can this get? And that's not visible to the public, because they don't have all that information. And so you're always looking at not what's happening at that point in time, but the trajectory of how bad it can get. And when you look at what happened in Chicago, New York, and the crumbling of the system, of the healthcare system, has more of an impact of anything else that we could do. Trying to stop that and give some breathing room does require. And I asked for 2 weeks. It was temporary. But I think if the community had rallied and said, okay, let's try to do this. He might know something we don't know. Let's do this for 2 weeks. But I wanted a 2 week to see, give some breathing room to the healthcare workers. A lot of them are quarantined because they have the virus, and others are in very vulnerable situations. Right now, if you hurt yourself and you go to emergency hospital, people think there's a difference. This is for COVID, and this is for someone with an injury. And no, it's all in the same situation. One of the things I've said is that anybody who doesn't believe in the stay-at-home order is one chest pain away from being on my site.
Or, or really a broken leg. Or a car accident.
Something simple, yeah.
If you had a chest pain, they bring you all the way to the front, right? Go, oh my God, you've got a chest pain, and that can't happen because you're saturated. You've got people on the hallways, and we're transporting people to Phoenix, and we've got tents. Not like, okay, now we have a little hospital. It's very, very different. It's not repurposed in the same way.
So you talked about the number of people who have already died from COVID. I got a question from a listener who said, why do we have this gigantic backlog of bodies? Does everybody get an autopsy or only in certain circumstances?
Get yourself ready for what is a normal situation. It starts spiking on you, and then it gets a little bit backlogged. Death certificates don't come in as fast. A death order within 5 days. It used to be 10 days, but even then it doesn't expedite. You've got family members that are not able to see the person, because that's one of the most saddest things that I could ever imagine, that if I lost my mom or dad, and then I can't see them, and that's very difficult. So there's a little bit of delay also from the family side, and so the process, people aren't working at times, or they don't have money, so they're not able to come up. We have all kinds of programs to pay for funerals, and people aren't taking advantage of a lot of the assistance from the county. So a lot of the variables end up with this idea that, how backlogging, and then it becomes difficult. And then that's where you have the mortuaries, the semis, which is really morbid and sad, but really what it is, it's a storage. It's not a mortuary like you would see in, like our medical examiners. It's actually a storage for bodies, and refrigerated kind of. So it's a really difficult, can't even talk about it sometimes, it's overwhelming.
Does everyone who dies, do they have to undergo an autopsy so that it can be determined if they were a COVID victim?
An autopsy has to be, because they can't cite what's going to happen. If somebody dies and you're young, obviously there has to be an autopsy because you shouldn't have died. If they had the symptoms, they had fever, they had that, then they'll test for the if they had COVID virus. But you don't need an autopsy to know that. So it's not autopsies that are holding back the situation, unless you do have the circumstance and the situation where you might have 3 or 4 deaths that require the autopsy, which then takes away from them being able to process the other bodies. People say, the businesses, I own businesses, mine are closed, and it's a franchise, and within the franchise, they're not closed, and so I understand it's difficult, and I don't want to put myself as, I understand kind of thing. It's just that I'm saying that I know the impact that it has, but I also know that I'd rather pull back a little bit and then be able to do what we need to do.
Mr. Samaniego, you did this yourself, as the owner of franchise yourself, you shut them down knowing that it was going to affect lives and livelihoods.
But, you know, the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about is the people that mostly really like the stay-at-home order are the employees that feel very vulnerable. It took me like 3 weeks for when we opened the first time after the stay-at-home. I got calls, Ricardo, we're not ready. I'm afraid. I don't want to be there. And we didn't open really quick. We took our time. But right now, I can tell you, or when we had the first stay-at-home or the mask, the mask mandate, I can't tell you when I went to the big box stores how many of the employees said, "Hey, thank you." You see, you can't believe what people would do, and sneeze. I'm under stocking a shelf, and somebody above me sneezes.
Yeah,
they're very thankful. The employees are very thankful for this situation, and I think an owner says, "I got to open," but I wonder how insensitive it might be to open and put your employees in a vulnerable situation. So it's a very contagious community right now. We've got Juarez, they've got total shutdowns on the weekends, really struggling over there. We have a lot of interaction with Juarez, and it's mostly us going over there. So it's not them coming over here. It's us going over there because a U.S. citizen or a resident can go to Juarez and come back, even if it's not for essential travel, whereas a person from Juarez cannot come to the U.S. if it's not essential business.
Gee, I don't think a lot of people are aware of it.
Okay, Judge, we are going to do the lightning round. A lot of people love to say that the county makes money off of people who have died from COVID. So even if somebody, let's say, dies of a heart attack, they count them as dying of COVID because they make more money that way. Is that true?
Well, obviously not. We get money from CARES Act, but only on things that we show that we're fighting COVID. But the numbers have nothing to do with whether or not we get funds or anything like that. It's all based on what are we doing. Maybe I'm using overtime for sheriffs because it's over and above what they do, and it's related to COVID, or we use PPE for COVID, but it's never related to the stats or anything like that. But I could see why that might seem like that, but it isn't, and I'm very emphatic about that.
So the big box stores, we keep hearing that you guys can't make them follow the order. Why is that?
Well, actually, we can. One of the misunderstanding is that in my order that I determine who opens and who doesn't. The essential businesses are determined by federal government. Within there, we did do the mandates on the wearing the masks. We were looking at maybe not allowing more than one shopper at a time per family. There's things that we could do. They did a lot on their own, like the aisles of being one way and so forth.
Right.
But we can intervene within what the government calls essential, and then we're looking at maybe like the big box stores not being able to sell clothing because it's not essential. So we might get in a little deeper into getting them to cut back because we're seeing that the biggest source of the spread is at the big box stores.
And then the last question we have to know: are you going to shut us down again?
There's a couple of things that I looked at, and it's very, very clear. One, did I have the legal ground to do the order? And we believe with all our heart, it's now in the Eighth Circuit Court that they're challenging. Judge Woody, as you know, he ruled in our favor. It went up to the Eighth Appeals Court, and now the Attorney General is taking it to the Supreme Court. We're dealing with it. Secondly, I needed to know that the medical profession was really, really, really emphatic about the fact that this was going to be a huge disaster. We didn't do something like a stay-at-home order. And the third was that the community came together for 2 weeks and really rallied. Well, that didn't happen. And so what I have to look at now is a couple of things. One, are the numbers flattening, or they inclining, and we still have numbers coming up, and still a lot of people in the hospital, and it's still saturated. But I also need the behavior of the community to be a little different. Then you would be in a much better position 2 weeks later. But we never gave it a chance. So I've got one more day, and I hope everybody prayers and everything else that you could send my way. But this is a very critical decision. And the other thing is that people don't realize is that I'm also fighting to have authority to do things in our community, and I can't make a decision because it's going to be made for me in Austin.
Right.
And that can backfire on us. One day he's going to make a decision that's completely contrary to what is good for El Paso. So I'm not only fighting the idea of we have to stop this virus, and that's what I believe is the answer, but also they shouldn't be dictating. We're a very unique community. It's almost symbiotic with Juárez Juarez and Las Cruces, and the governor's 800 miles away. And when it was bad over there, guys, it was okay for him to use the stay-at-home order. It was okay to do that, and we participated, and our numbers were really low at that time. So now I'm only doing what he felt was a tool to stop the virus. And why couldn't we do that here in El Paso? Why shouldn't he have the same sensitivity that he had for Austin and Dallas and those areas?
Right.
So I'm getting the sense then the court sides with you again that it's something you're going to do again.
I'm inclined because of the numbers. I send a letter to the governor, and in the letter it's got a matrix. And I want to include that. If I do extend it, I want to include the matrix, because the matrix says that I'm only going to assert this kind of authority when things are really in a dangerous situation. So he doesn't think that I would do it every time. No, I don't like that, I'm going to do it different.
Right.
He said at 15% capacity of the hospitals, at 15% of the hospitals for COVID patients, we had an alarm system. He has it in his order. 15%, 1-5. We are now at 49%, 49%, three times the amount.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand where, if he was going to ring the alarm for us at 15%, it didn't happen at 20, at 30, at 35, at 40, and now we're at 49%.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're fighting you when it's at 49%. So
they're El Paso blind. And so now the community should help me say, hey, listen to us. You know, you never have before. Now you're acting like you care.
All right, Judge. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Well, you guys do a great job, and this opportunity to be able to reach your audience and let them know and I'll say it every time. No order, no politician, no Ricardo Samaniego, no one should tell us as a community what's the best for us. Each one of you, think about it. Don't get anybody in a vulnerable, especially anybody over 60 that we have 95% are underlying conditions because we have a community. We discovered one of the highest indices of diabetes, highest indices in the heart problems. So, let's take care of our health. The best defense is, 1, take the flu shot. 2, be healthy. There's no better way to resist that virus than to be healthy. If you're not healthy, you're going to be extremely vulnerable. The flu's coming up. Let's not bring those two together, because we'll have the perfect storm.
And 3, only have 1 serving of enchiladas. Come on, man.
No, hey, enchiladas, that's a bad rap. They're really low calorie.
Yeah, and I'm sure onions are good for you too. Yes.
They are.
Okay.
They are.
All right, Judge.
Well, thank you, guys. Hey, great job. Thank you. This is a great opportunity. I'm really blessed to be able to reach out to your audience. So,
Thanks, Judge.
Then we'll let you reach out again in the future then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank
Judge.
you. That's County Judge Ricardo Samaniego. He is going to put the smackdown on you because you haven't been listening. That's what I got out of it. Is that what you got out of it?
Sure.
Oh, did you, though?
I did.
Okay.